morning, and welcome to our 5th edition of Ask Me Anything. We're back here in LA in our brand room. If you've watched this before, you know that this is Culver City, LA. This is our corporate office, and we call this our brand room because we have a lot of products that we put on display here, and we have these lovely colors behind us, and it's just a fun background. Today, I'm going to be having you type your questions into the chat box so that I can answer them for you. But while we're allowing people to join us on our network today, how about you tell me where you're here from? Clearly, I'm here in Culver City, LA. So type into the chat box and let me know here from. Let's see, I've got a few people logging in already saying good morning. Thank you for joining. We are going to be answering your questions today, but I want to remind you, if I do not get to your question, two things. A, we might answer those questions in our next Ask Me Anything. B, don't forget, we have a page, switchwithskp.com. So repeat after me, switchwithskp. Go to our switchwithskp.com and book your one-on-one appointment with an educator, and they can answer your questions thoroughly as well. So if I can't get to them, check that out later. But it looks like we already have some questions in the chat box, so let's go ahead and get started today. So I see we've got a question here, and I'll answer the one on the screen first. How do I transition my clients from summer blonde to warmer fall color? We're getting into fall, guys. That pumpkin spice latte, we're getting all the warmer drinks, the fall colors, everybody's wanting to go darker for fall. But how do we achieve that? There are several ways to achieve a darker color, and Vibrance is going to be your go-to when it comes to achieving darker colors. Now, it depends on what does that person want. Right now, you know what's really trending? It's not called cowboy copper anymore, but still warm brown tones or tones that are almost that red shade. So if you are transitioning a blonde into a fall brunette, I recommend starting with low lights. We all know our blondes, if we go and make their hair all dark, they're going to come back and want it blonde again. So start with some low lights. One of my favorites for low lights is the Dash 65 series. Dash 65 is that chocolate gold. It's a really rich chocolate color, but it has that gold reflection rather than a red reflection. So I love using that. However, if you do want to toy with a little bit of copper, I like to take my gold copper, or sorry, my chocolate gold, and mix it with my copper shade. So we do have in this a 9-7 and also a 77. For fall, if somebody's blonde, I like to start with a 9-7 and maybe mix it with your 9-65 for a low light if they're really platinum blonde. Or if they're a little bit darker, maybe add in your 7-65. But play around with some different tones. Start with low lighting, maybe try a shadow root. But the key for going darker on somebody in the fall is keeping lightness around the face. Somebody who's really blonde and goes dark still likes to see light around their face. So keep a few face framing highlights, add some low lights into the back, maybe a shadow root, and keep the ends of their hair blonde. When you're low lighting to go darker, low light a darker shade at the top and just use a toner for the to keep the ends lighter. That'll give them some depth and also some dimension in their blonde, but also make them still feel blonde. So if you're transitioning somebody from blonde to fall darker, start with low lights, a shadow root, but keep a money piece at the front and toy around with some warmer shades. They're really trending right now. So first question I have in the comments section, what is the best gray toners for 6-13? So gray toners, I'm a little bit confused by this question, so I'm going to answer to the best of my ability. 6-13 would be a cendre matte. That's a very cool shade. So if you're looking for gray coverage with a cool shade, you just need to mix that color with a natural. So if you're in IGORA Riel for 100% gray coverage and you're using a cooler shade that gets 70% gray coverage, you can use anything on this first page to mix with your formula to achieve 100% gray coverage. So if you want to keep the coolness of that level 6, you can actually mix that shade with a -1, which is our cendre or blue violet color direction. That's going to keep the coolness of that shade, and only 1/3 of your formula needs to be the 6-1, and the rest of your formula could be that cooler shade that you're looking for. If you are in Vibrance looking for that gray blending, then you can mix it with the 6-00. This is going to get you up to 70 gray coverage. So if it's a cooler shade like a 6-13, I could mix 1/3 of my formula with 6-00 to get that maximum gray blending. So I hope that answered your question. If not, go on and book your one-on-one appointment. So next question we have here, when someone asks for several level 6 highlights, but you left them at a level 9, what's the best way to go about that? So level 6 highlights, but you brought them to a level 9. So if I'm taking somebody from a level 9 down to a level 6, how many of us know how the remaining pigment contribution chart works? That is this right here. The remaining pigment contribution is the underlying warmth that is in hair. It is a very important part of achieving your color. If I'm going from a level 9 here and I'm trying to go down to a level 6, I first need to fill that hair. You have a couple of options when you're filling. When you're filling to go down to a level 6, you need to first fill, and I like to start with our boosters. Our boosters are the best way to fill hair because they are truly just that pigment, that warm pigment that you're looking for. So if I'm going down to a level 6, I'm typically seeing orange in my level 6. So 0-77 can be a great filler for a level 6. So I can take 0-77 mixed equal parts with my 6 volume IGORA VIBRANCE. It could be gel or lotion. I typically choose gel because then I can apply it super quick in a bottle to the hair. I comb that through evenly, let it sit for 10 minutes. Then you simply rinse that out of the hair and choose your desired level 6 shade and put right over top of that after you have blow dried the hair to 100%. So fill first with the 0-77 and then your desired shade over top of. Now remember, if you do want to fill with an actual shade, you could potentially fill her hair with a copper shade. Now in our coppers, we only have a level 7-77, and when you're filling, general rule of thumb is to fill 2 levels lighter than your desired shade. So if I was to fill with this, I might take 7-77 and mix equal parts 9-7. That's going to give me approximately a level 8, which would be my filler. I could use that for my filler, apply that all over with 6 volume gel, let that sit for 10 minutes, rinse that out of the hair, blow dry to 100%, and then put on my final formula. But that is an excellent question because it's so hard when you're going from a level 9 to a level 6 to not get those cool tones and have that color look muddy. So filling is a very important part. Now, if you're just low lighting, sometimes filling can't happen. So there's 2 options. One, you can actually use 0-55 with your 6 volume, apply that to the foil first, and then in that same foil, apply over top of your final formula to have that filler go on first. Other option is to add more gold into your formula. That way, the hair will take the gold first as its filler so you don't get muddy. Moving on to our next question. Can Vibrance lift natural hair color when applied with 13 volume? Great question. For any of you out there who don't know what Vibrance is our demi-permanent hair color for Schwarzkopf Professional. And with this hair color, we have a 6 volume and a 13 volume activator. Now, our Vibrance is an alkaline-based hair color. Because it's alkaline-based, if you use 13 volume, especially on fine hair, you do risk shifting the natural base. I have found on a fine to medium texture, you'll shift a half, maybe a full level of lift. If you have really thick hair, I haven't seen much of a shift, maybe a half level at most, but you do have that ability to shift the natural base. If you're looking to tone, but you're like, I cannot risk shifting that natural base at all, you can use your 6 volume Vibrance activator, or we do have toners in our Blond Me range, and our Blond Me toners are pH neutral. Because they are pH neutral, they will not shift the base. So you do have an option if you are concerned about that. Moving on to our next client or our next question here. What's the best gray toners for a level 9-10 hair? So for gray toners, I can see this question a couple of ways. Are we talking to make somebody's hair look gray unnaturally? Are we talking somebody who already has gray hair and is looking to enhance their gray hair? So I'm going to show you something that can actually be used both ways. So for those of you that don't know, in IGORA Real, our permanent hair color range, we have a line called Silver Whites. That's these shades right here. You can see they are silver shades. Our lightest of these shades is silver. Our medium shades are a dove gray and a gray lilac, and then our darkest is going to be your slate gray. Now, these are actually meant to be true tonal refiners for natural silver white hair. What does that even mean? Think of your gray hair clients that come in, or clients who have grown out to their natural silver hair. What are the biggest complaints they have? My hair's getting brassy. My hair's not as soft as it used to be. It's lacking shine. Is there anything I can do? Clearly, if I say I want to color your hair with silver, they're going to say, no, I don't want color. I spent all this time growing it out. Why are you going to put color on? But what if I say that I can refine your natural silver white hair, get rid of the yellow, add in that shine and suppleness, and also make your hair just feel overall better? That's what the silver whites were brought out for your natural silver white hair clients who are coming in for just a haircut, but maybe they need a little enhancement. These are going to add that shine to the hair because they're actually part of our absolutes range. So they have that pro-age complex that has the ciliamines that are going to smooth that hair cuticle, and then the collagen that's going to fill in the brittle site. So it actually makes the hair feel better after it's colored. Now, I think you're talking about toners on a level 9-10. These can also be used for that as well. However, the key to the perfect silver tone is to lift to the proper amount. So you need to lift that hair to pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow first. Then you're going to have to pre-tone. That can be a violet shampoo, or it could be like our 9.5-1, which is our anti-yellow, or a 10-1 anti-yellow. But the key to the most perfect silver is to first pre-tone. So start by lifting to that pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow, pre-tone, and then apply any of your final formulas. Your silver is going to be that true silver tone. Dove gray is going to be a medium gray. Gray lilac has a hint of that lilac-y color to it. And slate gray is really great for actually men's gray blending because it's really just making the white hairs darker gray and not doing anything to the darker hair. But I've low lighted these into the hair as well. So if you're looking for a multi-dimensional silver, you can maybe weave in some dove gray and gray lilac low lights and then do silver all over everything. So if you're looking for a great gray toner, try our silver whites. It's amazing. Moving on to our next question here. When using a booster for a filler, do you mix and what ratio do you use? That is an excellent question. So using a booster for a filler, you can use the booster in both IGORA VIBRANCE and IGORA Real. But here is the key. If you're going to fill with a permanent hair color, your final formula needs to be a permanent hair color. If you're filling with a demi-permanent, your final formula should be a demi-permanent. So I'm going to start there. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to fill and do my final formula with a demi-permanent. Why is that? If you think about it, I've already lifted my client's hair, so that hair's already been through a lot of damage. So I want to use the most gentle form for coloring their hair darker. So 9 times out of 10, I'm going to use my IGORA VIBRANCE. And I'm going to explain how to use the boosters in VIBRANCE first, but then because you can fill with IGORA Real, I'll talk about how to use them in IGORA Real. So starting with VIBRANCE, if I'm going to fill with my boosters, you will take your booster and you'll mix your booster equal parts with your 6 volume either gel or lotion activator. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if I do 20 grams of 0-55, it'd be 20 grams of my 6 volume 0-55. Now you can mix with gel or lotion. I just personally like to mix with the gel because that gel consistency allows me to apply it super quick and easy with a bottle. Then I comb it through, let it sit for that 10 minutes, and then I'll rinse that out of the hair, blow dry to 100%, and then apply my final color formula and let that sit for 20 minutes. Now, if you're going to fill with IGORA Real, that's also an option, but your filling rules are different. So if I'm using my permanent hair color and I want to fill with permanent with my boosters, you're going to mix the booster in your IGORA Real permanent hair color with 3 parts warm water. Yes, I said 3 parts warm water. So it's 1 part booster to 3 parts warm water. I like to mix that into a bottle that I can spray into the hair super quick and easy because I don't like to spend a lot of extra time. So I'll put it in a bottle, I'll mix it up, 1 part booster to 3 parts warm water. You'll spray that into the hair, or if you do decide to mix it up in a bowl, brush it into the hair, comb it through, let it sit for up to 20 minutes. Simply rinse that out of the hair. Make sure you get everything out. Blow dry that hair to 100%. You do not need to shampoo in between, but blow dry the hair to 100% and put your final formula. But if you're filling with IGORA Real permanent, then your final formula should be permanent. If I fill with, say, Vibrance and then put a over top of, it's the strongest man wins. So this is just going to eat that dye molecule I just put into there and not do anything. So filling with a permanent, final formula, permanent. Filling with a demi-permanent, final formula, demi-permanent. So hopefully that helped. And if you do need more guidance there, don't forget, guys, you can also go to our switchwithskp.com and you can book your one-on-one appointment with any of our, not any, we have certain education team members that you can book a one-on-one phone call with and ask all of your questions there too. All right, so let's see what our next question is here. We've got several in here, so we're going to try to get to all of them. All right, next question here from Susan. What is the best way to buy swatch books? Swatch books are a hot commodity, right? They're hard to find sometimes. So your distributor should have the ability to order one for you. You can simply just buy a swatch book. The large one, I believe, is like $150. If you have the ability or you know somebody in the salon that is new to Schwarzkopf and they want to just get an intro deal, a lot of times we have intro deals that you can purchase. Those intro deals come with a free swatch book, and they usually come with a certain number of colors that you can get your own colors. You usually get to pick whatever you want from the brand. You'll get developers, typically some bowls and brushes and some other things. So if you're someone who needs a brand new book and you also need to restock your shelves, maybe talk to your distributor, find out if there's an intro deal that you can get, that you could get the free swatch book as well. Otherwise, talk to your distributor. You may be able to order your swatch book and just pay for it separately. Talking to your distributor, number one thing, if you don't have a sales rep, you can go to your local distributor store, the physical location, and they can order one for you. So I hope that helps out. So next question we have here, lift a level 5 to a level 9 without bleach. Tricky question, right? So if you know the laws of hair color, you know that with a permanent hair color, typically I can only get up to 4 levels of lift. Now, a 5 to a 9 is only 4 levels. I might be able to get there, but we all know if I have really thick hair, chances are I'm not going to get all the way from a level 5 to a level 9. Now, if it is virgin hair and I want to get from a level 5 to a level 9, I can try. I can maybe go ahead and try a level 9 IGORA Real color and use my 40 volume on thick hair. I'm probably only going to get 3 levels of lift. So chances are I'll get to a level 8. If I had fine hair, that might go up to a level 9 on virgin hair. However, in IGORA Real, we have an amazing line called Fashion Lights. Our Fashion Lights will give you up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. Now, I'm just trying to find these swatches, and there we go. We found them. It's these 5 shades here. Now, these 5 shades will give you up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. Yes, I did say even on previously colored hair. Now, if somebody's been box coloring their hair for years, level 1 black, am I going to see what's on this swatch? No. The key to this is that these colors are put on a level 5 swatch. So I give you this because if I'm going to a level 5 to a level 9, look at this right here. L-00 and L-44 can give me that. So I can get up to that level 9. Now with this, you need to use 40 volume developer. So you'll mix one part of your L-00, which is your fashion light, with equal parts of your developer. So if I did 40 grams of L-00, it'd be 40 grams of my IGORA Real developer. A little key with these though, they are off scalp only. So if I am doing this, I'm highlighting it in, balayaging it in. If you're trying to do an all over color of somebody from a level 5 to a level 9, here would be my recommendation. You don't want to use Lightener. That's what I'm seeing here. So what you could do is take your fashion lights. L-44 is my beige, or L-00, which has no pigment weight. It's just going to create lift. So I like to use the L-44 because I get a little bit of that toning as well. Do back-to-back foils, like a platinum card that you would do with Lightener, but use L-44 instead. then in between your foils. The heat of the scalp can help you get that one extra level of lift. Choose your level 9 tone. I would recommend maybe 9-11 or a level 9, which is like a Cendre Extra, but any sort of cool level 9 to put on the base in between the foils. Even if that base doesn't quite get all the way to a level 9, it's at least going to get to a level 8.5. But with the heat of the scalp, it should push you up that extra level so that your base on the scalp will be very close to a level 9 and everything on mids and ends will be a level 9. So hopefully that helps. Fashion lights are what can achieve those 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. So next question we have here, in the silver whites, what would you suggest for natural white gray blend? Excellent question. So we talked about the silver whites not long ago. These are those shades that are true tonal refiners for natural silver white hair. Now, if somebody's naturally all over white, I recommend using silver. However, if somebody's all over white, that hair, if it's warmer, if it's more gold, and you put too cool of a color, they might feel like they have blue hair. So there is a way to use the silver whites, and you can dilute them. So if you want to use this on all white hair, I recommend doing our dilution, which is a 1:1:1 ratio. You might be like, 1:1:1 what? So 1 part color, which is the 1 part silver of the silver whites, 1 part conditioner. I'd recommend our Fiber Clinics Fortify conditioner, and then 1 part of your 10 volume Agora Real developer. These are meant to be used with your 10 volume Agora Real developer. So to get the most sheer silver on an all white hair color, take your silver 1 part, so maybe 20 grams of silver, 20 grams of conditioner, and 20 grams of your 10 volume Agora Real developer. Apply that all over the hair. Let it sit for up to 20 minutes and simply shampoo out of the hair. I do want to give a slight little warning. If you have never used the silver whites, this warning is just for you not to freak out. They process pink. It's scary, but they process pink. So do not freak out. Do not take it off the hair. I have used these a zillion times and at no point has the hair turned pink. If you think about it, to get a silver, typically there's some sort of blue, and maybe if there's a violet, what else is in violet? Red. Guess what? When violet shows up and you see that little bit of red, it turns pinky as it's processing, but it's not going to leave the hair pink. But I want to give that warning because if you see pink, just leave it alone. That pink will fade away and it will just be silver. So that is how you're going to dilute and get the most natural tone, but always remember you can still low light with the other shades and create a multi-dimensional on white hair. The next question we have here, I used the 6-4 gloss on my dirty blonde hair and it went cinnamon red. Why is that? 6-4 is a beige tone. And so beige is going to be a muted gold. If we think about what is going to mute gold, if we think about the color circle here, if I'm looking at gold, what is going to mute my gold? If I want to neutralize gold, if I come down here, that's going to be violet. Violet neutralizes gold. So what happens with violet is equal parts of red and blue to create a violet, which means there is some red in there. So chances are your hair, for whatever reason, took on that red tone, and that's why you ended up with that end result. So for you, if you're looking for like a warm result, but not a red result, you just want a kind of a gold shade, I would take 6-55 and utilize that instead. I will say that our golds are not extra gold. Some golds can be super brassy, but our 6-55 is a gold extra. It's just whenever you have that beige, it has that little bit of that violet that helps to make it a soft gold or a muted gold, and that somehow showed up in your hair due to porosity or whatever reason. So maybe avoid using 6-4, try 6-5 or 6-55 instead. I can't remember which one we have at the level 6, but I believe it's the -55. But check it out, try our golds instead, or maybe stick to more of a neutral. Or I like to mix the -4 with a -1, which is our Cendre. It gives this really great natural tone. So hopefully that helps you in the future. I also recommend with that, so that you can talk more detail, maybe book your one-on-one appointment. Again, it's Switch with SKP. I made it a song. Makes it easier to remember. So switchwithskp.com. So go there and book your one-on-one appointment and you can discuss even further. All right. So When is it better to use a high lift like 12-1 Sue or Blond Me high lift? This is an excellent question. So, you ever notice how sometimes we might have a couple of different things that seem like the same thing in different ranges? So, we have high lifts in Agora Real, which come in this lovely, beautiful blue box. These are phenomenal. They work amazing. They have our fiber bond technology in them. They give the lift that you need. They are phenomenal. But then we also have a box that looks similar to this that has an L on the end of it. This one has a T because it's toner, but the one that would be lifting cream that you're referencing is the L, which is our lifting creams. My 12 series gives me up to 5 levels of lift and slight tone in one step on virgin hair only. My Blond Me lifting creams give me up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step on virgin hair only. So what would my biggest difference between these two be, and why might I choose one over the other? I might have mentioned this before, but Schwarzkopf has a gigantic toolbox, but we have a toolbox that can be segmented. Because in a toolbox, I might only need screwdrivers. Maybe I don't need, like all these other wrenches that are in here. I just need screwdrivers. So I'm going to buy just the screwdrivers. So in ours, it's like I have a blonding category, Blond Me. It has everything I can do to do blonde. So maybe I don't want to switch out my entire color line. I love the color line I'm using, but I'm looking for a premium blonding category. That can be Blond Me. So why do we have a lifting cream here and also a high lift here if they're similar? It's because I have a category that can fit all needs. Now there is a slight difference between the two. The difference isn't in your lift. You're getting the same amount of lift in your lifting creams in Blond Me and also your 12 series. You're still getting those 5 levels of lift. Your biggest difference in your blonde lift is your tonal value. So in your Agora 12 series, you're getting lift, 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 and a slight deposit. You are getting some of that tone, but it's not a lot. It's a very sheer tone. So with Blond Me, what you're getting is you are getting that up to 5 levels of lift, but we have some cooler options within this. That is our ash, our ice iris. We also have an ice. Those are our 3 coolest, the ash being the coolest. The tonal value in ash is more than the tonal value you'll get in the 12 series. So if you're looking for that 5 levels of lift and maybe a little bit more control in your Blond Me lifting creams, you can get that extra control. Outside of that, they work the same. The 12 series and Blond Me lifting creams are mixed a 1-to-2 ratio. When I see 12, I think 1-to-2. So it's 1 part color to 2 parts of your developer. They're both on or off scalp. They're both meant for virgin hair. That biggest difference is that you get a little bit more pigment weight in your Blond Me lifting creams versus your high lifts in Agora Real. So hopefully that answers it. It's not a one size fits all. It might just be that you prefer the 12 series and somebody else prefers Blond Me. I have used both for my money piece and they're both amazing and beautiful, but it allows you to have one category that can be all blonding. If you're not ready to switch everything yet, you can try that first, fall in love with Blond Me, and decide to switch to Vibrance and Agora Real and become a Schwarzkopf user. So yay, hopefully that helped. All right, so you asked what is the makeup of the Dash 4, and because we were just talking about muted gold and how it went red on one of our clients, that's not a typical thing. It doesn't usually go red, but your Dash 4 is mainly gold. That is what it is. It is meant to be a gold color. But again, what softens yellow is a violet. So there is a small amount of a pastel violet that is in that to soften the gold. Violet, we know, is a combination of red and blue color molecules. However, if you're in a more pastel series, it's going to be a softer amount. So you're just seeing that slight bit of violet that is going to soften that gold tone, which is what makes it, it's almost like a gold iridescent, if you will. I feel like GI is something people know from other color lines, and I would say that our Dash 4 is most similar to that because it does have that hint of a slight violet. So hopefully that helps you out. If that didn't get you all of the answers that you're hoping to get, go ahead and book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert by going to our switchwithskp.com. All right, so what is the best color to use for 80% gray coverage that wants gray blending? All right, somebody has 80% gray hair. They've got a decent amount of gray. So the question you're going to ask yourself first is this a finer hair texture or is this a thicker hair texture? because thicker hair is going to have a harder time covering than finer hair. But anytime you're looking for more of a gray blending versus gray coverage, my go-to is Vibrance. Vibrance is our lovely pink book here. So you're looking for somebody that has 80% gray and wants gray blending. If you're going to mix in our Vibrance, if they have 80% gray, you need to add 1/3 of your formula with a -00. Now, you didn't say what color their starting point is or what, I know you said percentage gray, but what texture. So I'm just going to give a scenario here. So say my client is, maybe she's 80% gray, she's a level 6, she wants a cooler level 6 tone. My favorite for a cooler level 6 is 6-12. So I would make 2/3 of my formula 6-12. And then 1/3 of my formula is going to need to be the -00. So I'll choose 6-00. So she stays at that level 6. Now, these are both cooler tones, so it's going to keep her at that cooler level. But I need to use my 13 volume activator in order to get the maximum gray blending. Your maximum gray blending with this is going to be a maximum gray blending of 70%. What I will tell you is on really coarse resistant white hair, 70% gray blending is what you'll get. If this client has a finer hair texture, I have seen 100% gray coverage with Vibrance. I have seen it with my very own eyes. So the answer to that question, if they have 80% gray and you want gray blending, you can use Vibrance and just add 1/3 of your formula with a -00 into that formula. The example I gave was using 6-12. So maybe I take 30 grams of 6-12 and maybe I do 20 grams of 6-00. So 1/3 of my formula has natural extra. 30 and 20 is 50. 50 grams of my 13 volume activator lotion. That will get me 70% gray blending on that client. So hopefully that helped. And if you have a specific scenario, again, book your one-on-one appointment at switchwithskp.com. All right, so next question. Instead of IGORA Vibrance Developer, can we use IGORA Riel Developer? So I'm going to say that not all developers are made the same. And an activator is the name of our activator that is activating the dye molecules, and developer develops the pigments. Do they do the same thing? Essentially, yes. However, my answer to this question is going to be that our IGORA Riel developers are meant to work with our IGORA Riel color. It is specifically designed to work to make this color give you the best result possible. The same thing is true of our IGORA Vibrance. The developers are meant to work with this box of color. It's meant to give you the best results with this box of color. We do not test utilizing our IGORA Riel developers with our IGORA Vibrance. So I cannot speak to how that's going to work. That is a creative way to utilize it. Now, as somebody who's like, yeah, but like they both develop pigments. I mean, is it going to develop your pigment? Probably. Could it change the consistency of your color? Probably. Can we guarantee the results? No. But if you decide to try it, you can always just let me know how that works for you. We just can't recommend it because we have not tested it that way. So I hope that helps. We do not recommend using IGORA Riel developers with your IGORA Vibrance. Just go ahead and get your Vibrance developers. Next question here, a 40 volume on 9-11. So that is not much of a question. Can you use 40 volume with 9-11 is what I'm going to assume that question means. So yes, the answer to that would be yes, you could. However, I'm like, is that a new color we came out with or not? I know we came out with some new shades, and I do think 9-11 was one of them, and we just don't have it in this book. So in Vibrance, you would not use 40 volume with 9-11. If you were in IGORA Riel and you were looking to get that up to 4 levels of lift in your level 9, you could utilize 40 volume with it. So yes, the answer to that is if you are looking to try to get the maximum amount of lift, you could mix your 9-11 in IGORA Riel with 40 volume. Just know you're not going to get great coverage because you're also using 9-11, which is a fashion shade, so it'll get you up to 70% gray coverage, but it can be used in IGORA Riel, but don't use 40 volume with a Vibrance color ever. It's not the recommended. All right, so next question is going to be silver line on pre-lightened hair. We went over that earlier, and I'll do a quick recap. I'm not going to spend a lot because we already talked about this, but our silver whites are probably back in this book. I probably put them back if not, but our silver whites are those 4 silver shades that we just talked about. They are going to be tonal refiners for natural silver white hair. If you're creating an unnatural silver color, don't know what happened to that swatch, but we'll find it later. If you're trying to create an unnatural silver color, you're going to first pre-lighten to a level 10. You need to be at that pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow. Next, you're going to pre-tone. That pre-toner can be a violet shampoo, or it can be like a 10-1 or a 9.5-1. Essentially, you're just trying to create a white wall. I always say silver hair is just like painting. If I had a yellow wall and I put gray right over top of my yellow wall, it's going to be murky. It's going to be green, olivey. It's not going to be truly gray. So I first need to make that wall white and prime it. So think of your pre-tone as your primer for your silver. So you're going to use a violet shampoo, or you're going to pre-tone with your 9.5-1, and then you'll use your silver toners over top of that. But you want to make sure that you fully rinse out your pre-tone, shampoo it out, and then blow dry the hair to 80% first, and then apply your silver toners. So hopefully that helps you on that side. I did go over this earlier, but that's my quick little recap on that in case you missed it. And you can always rewatch this later on if you really want to dive even deeper into that. So for Blond Me pastel toners, what combination would you utilize to create a creamy champagne on a level 8 or 9? So let's take a look at what pastel toners we have within our Blond Me range. So within our Blond Me range, we have a lot of pastel toners here. So you can see we have a pretty large variety. So what you're looking for is to create a creamy champagne. So let's talk about first what level you're on. You say you're on level 8, 9. So what I want to talk about first is the pigment weight in these. So my ice and my sand and my biscuit, these 3 shades right here are going to be very sheer. You're only going to see these 3 shades if you're on a level 9, like a pale yellow, like almost a level 10, needs to be inside of a banana peel yellow. That's the only time you're going to see these. So these may not be enough for you to get the pigment deposit you're looking for creamy champagne. So my recommendation would be to add in, so biscuit and brown mahogany. So with this, my biscuit is going to sit closer to a level 8. So if you're level 8, level 9, your biscuit will only show up on a level, pale yellow, but this is going to show up on that level 8. So these two together are going to create a beautiful champagne color. If this feels like the biscuit's going to be almost like a champagne on its own, but too pale for you to see. The brown mahogany is going to have a little bit more warmth. If you're afraid that little bit of warmth is too much, then I would mix just a tiny bit of ice into that formula as well. So I would say either biscuit and your brown mahogany together as one, or biscuit, brown mahogany, and ice, maybe in equal parts, will give you a beautiful champagne tone. And you'll mix that with your 7-volume Blond Me developer, and you can apply that either bottle or bowl and brush application. Now, just bear in mind how much underlying warmth they're seeing, because the level 8, 9 can have a lot of yellow orange, or it can be a little less depending on the client. So that'll determine how much of your brown mahogany you would use and how much of your biscuit. If you want to get deeper into that, don't forget you can also book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert. Just go to switchwithskp.com. All right, how to use the 0-55 in Vibrance, please. So 0-55 in Vibrance can be used in several different ways. So this is a loaded question. We talked about utilizing it one way by adding it as a filler for hair. So 0-55 is a booster. And my booster might be on the seat here. Here's the thing about sitting here and getting all these out. I don't always put them back where they belong. So don't be like me. Don't put your swatches other places. Put them back where they belong. So I'm just going to utilize this. So 0-55 is my gold booster. I can use it as a filler for hair. We talked about utilizing it as a filler in Vibrance. That's mixing it equal parts with my 6-volume activator gel or lotion, and then rinsing it out of the hair, and then blow drying and putting on my final formula. However, 0-55 is an excellent tool to get a little extra gold or even a gold copper in your redheads. I use 0-55 in almost every redhead that I do. It's kind of an utilized or thought of process. So in copper, we're seeing a lot of actual orange copper, a gold copper is a more natural looking copper shade. So even Tracy Cunningham, if you all know who she is and you follow her, she's a celebrity colorist and she's touched every A-list celebrity you can think of. She's phenomenal. Any redhead she does, she adds in 0-55 to her formula. This is Tracy here. You can see she did Lindsay Lohan's hair. If you haven't seen Freakier Friday yet, highly recommend. It's a super cute, funny movie, but she always creates her reds utilizing 0-55. So my biggest way to use 0-55 is in the reds. So my level 7 red, 7-77, level 7 copper extra can be very intense. I like to mix that with a level 9-7, but that's a lot less copper. So I like to then mix in a little bit of my 0-55, and that gives me that extra gold kick and just kind of kicks up and gives that additional reflection to the hair. If we think of copper, copper can be really reflective, but what makes it reflective is the gold that's in it. So if you can add just a little bit more gold to your copper, you'll find a little bit more reflection that way. So the biggest ways to use it is as a filler or to add to your reds to create the most beautiful redheads. So next question we have here. IGORA Vibrance will help blend gray up to 70% when using our, okay, thank you for letting them know that. So we talked about this earlier, guys. If you're utilizing your Vibrance, you can use the -00 series. That's going to give you that up to 70% gray coverage, but you must use your 13 volume activator and 1/3 of your formula with the -00 to achieve that up to 70% gray coverage. So next question, high lift can be used on scalp or off. So all of our high lifts can be used on or off scalp. So I am able to put that on scalp and my scalp should have no issues. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have issues. If you have a client with a sensitive scalp, you may use our Scalp Protect. We have some color essential tools within our range, and our Scalp Protect comes in a bottle, has a nozzle on the end that makes it super easy to just draw lines on the scalp and go ahead and just massage that onto the scalp, let that sit, make sure the hair is 100% dry. So I always like to put the Scalp Protect on first, and then I'll go back and mix up my color formula, come back out if the hair is not 100%, I go ahead and dry it and apply my color. But I have used and do use the High Lift on my money piece every month on scalp, and it's never bothered me. So yes, High Lift can be utilized on scalp. That is a great question. Next question. Our -4 is a muted gold with a hint of violet. Yup. So my question is, why color fades early? Please tell me what I do for longer lasting. Isn't that the worst? You did this beautiful red color and it just looked so amazing walking out the door. Then you shampoo it 5 times and all of a sudden it's a different color. How can I keep that from happening? So let's talk about the reasons hair color does fade. Hair porosity is a big portion of the reason the hair fades. If hair is porous, it will suck in that color right away. But guess what? It's also gonna release that color right away. So porous hair has open cuticles. It also has holes in the cuticles. So there are a couple of different things that you can do to help get longevity and longer lasting color. But you have to remember, especially in the summer, it's going to fade. Color is going to fade. Even permanent color isn't truly permanent. It's just called permanent because it permanently alters that hair strand. So therefore, it's going to be permanently maybe lifted or whatever, but that doesn't mean that that color is going to permanently look that color forever. So let's talk about ways to make it better. Way number 1, did you know that we have a hair primer in our Color Essential tools? Our hair primer is a tool that you should be utilizing on every client when refreshing mid-lengths and ends or toning, or even if you're going to re-highlight hair that has a lot of mineral buildup. Our hair primer gets sprayed into the hair. It's really going to even out the porosity of the hair. So that means fill in those little holes that are in the hair to give a more even result with the color taking. It also has an anti-metal technology. So for those of you that experience expansion with your lightener when you're trying to do highlights, it can usually be because there's a metal in the hair that lightener is reacting with. So if you spray the primer in first, that anti-metal will help minimize the reactions that you have. So first spray in your hair primer, comb that through. That's before any color or any toner. That's going to give you a more even result. Then when you're done with the hair color, there's 2 things I recommend. First, hair sealer. It's another Color Essentials tool. Hair sealer, I use every single client before they walk out the door. The name says it all. Hair sealer. I'm sealing in my hair color that I just did. It literally is going to neutralize the pH level of that hair, close down that hair cuticle. And the beautiful part of that hair sealer, it only needs 30 seconds to work. So here's how you're going to use it. So I've done this beautiful redhead. I bring her back to the shampoo bowl. I go ahead and shampoo out her red, and I rinse that from there. Next step, I take my color sealer. That's my second to last step. Apply that all over, super quick and easy. I let that sit for 30 seconds. If it's fine hair, that might be enough to condition the hair, but it's truly meant to just seal the cuticle. It doesn't have a lot of conditioning benefits. So you'll rinse that out of the hair and follow up with whatever Fiber Clinics conditioner you would like to use on them. If it's moisture, or maybe vibrancy is what I would recommend, because it's going to have that AHA technology that's really going to lock in that hair color. So make sure you're shampooing with our vibrancy Fiber Clinics shampoo, and then follow up with that conditioner. But that hair sealer is my #1 product I use on everybody. Now, specifically redheads, but also anyone else who tends to fade quickly. If you have not tried them yet, we have our Chroma ID. These are bonding colored conditioners for the hair. If that hair sealer, you feel like you're still losing color or color is fading, an extra layer of color is always going to give you more longevity. In our Chroma ID, we have colors that match 100% two shades that we have in IGORA Riel and Vibrance. This one is 6-88, so it's a level 6 red extra. We have 7-77, which is a level 7 copper extra. We have an 8-46, which is a level 8 beige chocolate, and a 6-46, which is a level 6 beige chocolate. Those are really great to help to refresh your brunettes. So if they're getting a haircut in between and you just want to refresh their mid-lengths and ends, this goes onto the hair after you shampooed. You'll rinse out your shampoo, towel dry, apply your Chroma ID. It sits for only 10 minutes. That's all you need, friends, 10 minutes. Then you'll simply rinse this out of the hair, and that hair has been bonded. It's conditioned. You do not need to use a conditioner after. So when I'm doing especially redheads, I'll take my 7-77 level 7 copper extra. Sometimes I'll mix it with clear to shear it out, and I'll do that treatment at the shampoo bowl as their final service to give that extra layer of color. An extra layer of color is going to give you extra longevity. So hopefully that helped answer your question. There's no sure way to fully keep the color, but those are some tips and tricks so that you can have the color last longer. All right. So is high lift more safe than Blond Me 9+ on scalp? Loaded question here, right? So both have a higher alkalinity level. A high lift is going to have a higher alkalinity level, but it's still safe for the scalp. Blond Me 9+ is also safe for the scalp. In general, a high lift color is going to have about the same amount of damage as a low volume lightener. But Blond Me 9+ is a stronger lightener. So in general, I would say probably this one's maybe slightly safer. But if you're doing on-scalp Blond Me with 7 volume, they might be the same level. They might feel about the same. But if you use Blond Me 9+ and you're using 20 volume, this might be a little bit better on scalp than, say, Blond Me 9+ with 20 volume. Either way, they're both safe for the scalp. We wouldn't allow you or recommend that you use something on scalp if it's not recommended for the scalp. Again, some people just have really sensitive scalps and might have reactions that way. The best thing for somebody, if I'm using a lightener, the ways to keep the scalp from having issues. A, don't leave it on too long. A lightener is only meant to sit for up to 45 minutes. It does not need more than that. If you leave it on longer than that, you have more ability to have scalp irritation. The other is no added heat. You're already at a higher alkalinity level. Do not add heat, because that added heat can heat up that lightener especially. And when you get that added heat, that's when you risk scalp burns, things like that. So if you've ever seen somebody with a scalp burn, chances are they went under a dryer with lightener on their head and that temperature went up, and that's how they got that scalp burn. So do not use any sort of heat, but I would say a low volume lightener and a high lift are probably about the same on the scalp. So hopefully that answers that question. And then let's see what else we have. Is Blond Me 9+ safe to use on scalp when mixed with 7 or 20 volume? Okay, you mentioned that it is safe to use on scalp. Yes, absolutely. Our Blond Me 9+ is safe for on scalp application for 7 volume and 20 volume. Again, if you do have somebody with a sensitive scalp, simply put on the Scalp Protect first, and that will help them to have a better experience. So next up, favorite Auburn formula. Auburn is such a beautiful color. Everybody thinks of Auburn different, right? So some people think of it as warmer, some of it think of it as cinnamon, some people might think, everybody thinks of it as something different. When I think Auburn, I think of if somebody naturally had Auburn hair, what would that formula be? And 9 times out of 10, I have actually one swatch that is my favorite Auburn to use. Now you can play with this and add other things in, but 7-57 is my number one shade that I like for that. And it's a level 7 gold copper. So for that most natural Auburn shade, like I was born with this color. When I was younger, I was naturally Auburn. And as I got older, it faded out. It's more mousy. It's not as rich anymore. 7-57 is my first go-to. Love this shade for a natural Auburn tone. It's got that gold first and then that copper reflection. So it's just that truly really nice, rich, cinnamony, like beautiful Auburn shade. That is my first go-to. However, if you're going for a darker Auburn shade, I have another favorite, guys. My other favorite is 5-67. It's this one right here. If you're looking for a level 5 Auburn, it's a chocolate copper. It's like that chocolate russet shade. It literally has almost like that rust color for hair, but not in an ugly way, in a pretty way. This is absolutely my favorite, 5-67, level 5 chocolate copper. Friends, this is amazing if you're looking 7-57, level 7 gold copper, and in a level 5, 5-67, which is a level 5, and it's that chocolate copper. Those are two of my favorites. And honestly, I don't even normally have to mix them with things. It's just if I want a little more chocolate, maybe I add some chocolate to it. If I want a little more copper, adding a little copper to it. So you can take that tone and play with it and add different things to it to create your own formula that is your favorite Auburn tone. So once you get that, follow me on Instagram at AmberHUG, like give somebody a hug, and let me know what your favorite Auburn formula is, and maybe I'll feature it here on our next Ask Me Anything. All right, when we go darker, it's a certain family tone, example 7-0 and 6-0. This will mean that 6-0 will have more blue in it. So now we're getting into the nitty gritty here, right? We're really talking about what's in my tube of color and how much magenta do I have? How much like red do I have? How many blue molecules do I have more? We do have a chart that really tells you at each level how many color molecules kind of make up each level of color. Do I have that memorized? Absolutely not. So can I say that 6-0 might have more blue than 7-0? I can say probably. And I say this because of color theory. Color theory will tell you what you need to know, right? So if you take red, yellow, and blue in equal parts, that's how we create brown. But different amounts of each one will create lighter or darker brown. So if we think about lighter brown, I typically would have more yellow because that's more reflection, that's lighter. So more yellow in a lot of the lighter tones. And then in my darker tones, I might have more blue to make it deeper. Is there going to be a huge difference in how much is in a level 6 and how much is in a level 7? Probably not. But there is somewhere a chart that tells that, and you could probably look it up on our website because I know that we have SDS sheets on our website that you can look at if you really want to know the ins and outs of it. But there's not a specific number that we're like, this is how much we have in this, and this is how much we have in this. But in general, I would say yes, you have slightly more blue in your deeper shades to create a darker shade. So next up, okay, and I actually love what was written here from Schwarzkopf. Our -0 is the neutral tone direction, absolutely. When you're going darker, if you need to add in warmth before the target shade, that's that filling. You can fill the hair first so that the hair does not pick up on that blue. So if that's why you're asking that question, that's a perfect answer. So thank you, Schwarzkopf Professional on your end, aka Amanda or whoever answered that question. So depending on the level you're going, you would add that yellow or red into it before going to your target shade. Always remember, porous hair is going to grab blue first. So you must fill that hair if you're going any more than 2 levels darker than your shade. So if I'm from a level 9 down to a level 7, that's 2 levels darker. Fill the hair first with the gold. That way you know you're going to get the tone that you need. So we only have 5 minutes left, guys. So if you've got any questions, you can type them in. If we don't get to them this week, we will get to them next week. And also don't forget to Book your one-on-one appointment with a Schwarzkopf educator at Switch with SKP. Switch with SKP. Check us out and book your one-on-one appointment. So next question we have here, your go-to root shadow formula. Ooh. All right, so I actually do have a very favorite root shadow formula. It depends on how dark you want to go, but level 7 to me is a really great root shadow. If that's too dark, you can obviously go up a little bit, but we have shades that we brought out that might be my new personal favorites. So how many of you out there know the term dishwater blonde, that ugly term? A lot of blondes have this ashiness to it, and my mom used to call my natural tone dishwater blonde. Spoiler alert, I'm not naturally a redhead. I am dishwater blonde. But I will say, while I hated my natural color, it is a very popular color right now. That kind of almost slightly looks gray, ashy, but has that little bit of beige undertone. We created a line called Muted Desert Shades. And I like that term a lot better. I wish my mom said I had muted desert color versus, dishwater blonde. But if you think of the desert or sand, when the sun is out, the sand is very gold and has almost a hint of an ash to it. But when it's cloudy, it looks more like almost ash, but has a hint of that beige. Dash 4-2 is going to be my desert when I have the sun out. You can see it has this nice little warmth to it. It's got this beige tone, but then it's got this slight little bit of ash undertone. It's a very natural level 7. Sometimes that can be too gold as a shadow root. But then 7-24, that's going to be that ashy, that super ashy, like almost looks like gray, but has a hint of a beige. That's almost too cool as a shadow root. So for me, my favorite formula for a shadow root is to mix these two equal parts. So 7-42 mixed with 7-24. So that beige ash with that ash beige at a level 7 for a shadow root is beautiful. Chef's kiss every time. Now, if that's too dark for you, you can mix it with the level 9. So if you're going to do that, then maybe take half of your formula as 7-42 and the other half is 9-24. So I like to do that when I want a level 8. So these two, the Muted Desert shades, are my absolute favorite whenever I'm looking for that shadow root. They're beautiful and perfect every time. Not too warm, not too cool, and they look so natural. All right, so we have time for about one more question. So let's see. Would you use the hair sealer to also neutralize a high lift? Absolutely, that is a great question. Hair sealer is going to bring down the pH level of that hair. So if I have used a high lift and I have lifted that alkalinity level and I want to bring that back down, absolutely that's going to help to neutralize or seal down that cuticle after a high lift. So that was a great question. I love that. All right, I might have time for one more because we have 1 minute left, so I'll try to make this quick. Would you ever use Precision 7 Lightener on lengths, not scalp, for a lower soft lift? Absolutely. So the question is about our Precision Lightener. Precision Lightener is for those precise applications. It was meant for on-scalp lightening because this stays where you put it. So I can bring it right to the line of demarcation and know it's not going to spread out. And it's 7 levels of lift versus 9. So it's a slower acting lightener. So I have more control. I love using this in foils for that same reason. If somebody comes in every 4 weeks for, a highlight, it's hard to get that little bit of hair at the top of the hair at the foil. So I like to use Precision Lightener, knowing that it's not going to expand at all. It's going to stay where I put it. So I love using Precision Lightener in foils to have less lift and more control. So absolutely try this if you have not tried it before. I love using the Precision Lightener that way. So using it in foils will get you one extra level of lift as well, which is amazing. All right, awesome. And I see, Erica, you said that you love the -24 and 42. Guys, we are right at 10 o'clock. So thank you so much for joining me. I will be here again next week on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time zone. So join me on any of our social media channels, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Join us on any of them. Type in your questions. Definitely love answering your questions. You guys have been phenomenal, and I hope to see you here next time. Don't forget, if I didn't get to you or you have a more intense question with more details, go to our switch with skp.com, book your one-on-one appointment. And also, we have virtual seminars coming up, but these are the dates for our next Ask Me Anything. And we also have virtual seminars The next one is going to be on September 8th. So you can join us there, and you can actually ask on our virtual seminars as well to learn more about vibrance. So thank you guys. We will see you next week, same time, same place.